Greetings and welcome to Ultima Gaming, a show that is slowly draining our sanity. I'm Hunter again.
And I'm Jessica James. The only thing lower than our sanity is Hunter's depression.
Yeah! Wait, what?
Today, we're going to be taking a look at Sekiro.
From Software was nice enough to now not only make us hate ourselves in just medieval times, but also feudal Japan. Then later on the show, we're going to be taking a look at Devil May Cry 5. Capcom has managed to create another fantastic installation in the series.
And after that, we're going to be taking a look at a zombie game that came out of nowhere, similar to Hunter's depression.
Yeah! What? Why the depression jokes? I don't know. But yes, we're going to be taking a look at, not Days Gone, because I wish my days were gone, but actually World War Z. A fun Left 4 Dead-like game, because, you know, Valve's not going to give us Left 4 Dead 3 ever, so we'll take a week. But first, we're going to take a look at a frustrating feudal Japan, constant death, annihilation game, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. Nowadays, when a game is too difficult for someone, it gets referred to as the Dark Souls of that series. Well, after playing Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, I can confidently say that we can now refer to difficult titles as the Sekiro of that series. From Software's latest title is an incredibly complex, combat-heavy adventure that takes place in feudal Japan. The plot is rather simple here compared to the vast lore of Dark Souls. You play as a shinobi named Wolf who seeks revenge on those who attacked him and his master. As plot has never been a huge focus for From Software, the plot is really only here so they can say there is one. The story isn't inherently bad, it's just not extremely compelling or lending to any immersion within the game. Because at the end of the day, you're not playing this game for its incredible story, but rather its awesome but difficult gameplay. Speaking of difficult, Sekiro is extremely unforgiving, perhaps even more so than Dark Souls. The combat here isn't as concerned with rolling around and circling your opponent, and slashing away mindlessly is a sure way to meet a quick death, which is something you'll see time and time again, as your enemies won't hesitate to strike you down. Surviving the combat in this game means mastering the art of parrying. After blocking enough strikes and countering with enough of your own, you can eventually land a final fatal blow to your enemy. The endless amount of death in the game doesn't go without consequences either, as the number of times you die will increase the amount of a disease called dragon rot. The more you die, the more people are affected by it, causing some NPCs to fall ill and cause you to miss out on certain side quests. The dragon rot can be cured with a special item, but its quantity is limited, so you'll want to choose carefully how often you go about using it. Thankfully, you have options if you're in a pinch. Rather than turning tail and simply running away, your prosthetic arm comes equipped with a grappling hook, which can take you just about anywhere at any time. Using this can also change up your combat strategies and how you approach enemies to begin a fight. It's an extremely useful tool that you'll be using multiple times throughout your journey. As far as upgrades are concerned, you won't be needing to save up cash to visit a store and buy new weapons and armor. Instead, you'll earn skill points that you can invest in various skill trees that give you new abilities to help make the journey a little easier. These can be both active and passive skills, some helping you in combat, while others make it easier to recover health. While the plot itself doesn't lend much to the overall game experience, that doesn't have to ruin your enjoyment of the game. The world around you is still beautiful and immersive, and players will find themselves struggling to put the controller down as they face their foe repeatedly, just trying to get to the next area. With a beautiful aesthetic mixed with incredibly tight gameplay, Sekiro isn't quite a perfect game, but it's pretty damn close. A 4 out of 5. So there you have it. From Software has now managed to make us hate feudal Japan. Every white boy everywhere with dreams of Japan is now crushed.
And punched a hole in their wall. Thank you, From Software.
Come on, Kyle, be better.
So next we have Pretty Boys Fighting Ugly Demons. That's right, our review of Devil May Cry 5.
Devil May Cry is a series that happens when you throw the demons of hell, hard rock music, pretty boys, and glorious tight combat mechanics in a blender. Truth be told, it's actually a delicious and successful recipe, and Devil May Cry 5 follows the formula quite well. Devil May Cry 5 takes place after the events of Devil May Cry 4, as our protagonists face off against a new threat, a giant demonic invasion. After initially losing the fight, our heroes get separated, and you'll have to fight your way back to reunite everyone and earn a round 2. It's an okay plot, and is nothing revolutionary, but it gets the job done, even if it is slightly confusing, especially if you're a newcomer to the series. If you've ever played a Devil May Cry game, then you know that combat is everything, but it's not just enough to simply hack and slash your way through a fight. It's knowing how to do it gracefully and with style, which the game will bluntly tell you if you lack by judging your every fight. Devil May Cry 5 offers players the chance to really control their character's every move, allowing for unique and intricate attacks based on your input combination. Speaking of characters, Devil May Cry 5 introduces a new playable protagonist simply named V, who feels like he walked straight out of a local coffee shop while listening to a band you've never heard of. V isn't nearly as rough and tough as Dante or Nero, but instead relies on assistance from various animals to handle the fighting for him while he keeps a safe distance. It's a bit of a contrast from the normal combat we see in these titles, but it's a welcome change of pace nonetheless. Unlike V, Nero's combat is much more aggressive and in your face. Equipped with his prosthetic arms created by another series newcomer Nico, Nero offers a variety of abilities that keep combat flowing and fun. But of course, the bread and butter of the series is playing as Dante himself, who this time around has a massive amount of weapons and techniques at his disposal, ready for you to pick up and choose your favorites. There's no shortage or limit to what you can pull off as long as you're creative. Each character brings their own unique style and flavor to the table, and you'll have to learn to work with each of them to get used to how they operate. If you try to work all three characters in exactly the same way, then you'll be in for a bad time. Devil May Cry has never been a series to take itself extremely seriously, and that's absolutely a good thing. From wacky weapon choices to Michael Jackson tributes, Devil May Cry has always been about kicking ass and having fun. Devil May Cry 5 is as stylish as they come, and it's one title in the series you won't want to miss. Devil May Cry 5 gets 4 Devil Triggers.
I'll take that.
Out of 5.
I too would call Virgil daddy.
I'm more of a Nero girl myself, and in the DLC monkey business, you can give him banana hands, because what's better than killing your enemies with banana hands?
I'd love to kill myself with banana hands.
Well, you are your own worst enemy.
It's good potassium. Anyway, up next, we've got a good zombie game. World War Z.
Yep, grab 4 friends if you've got them,
I do not.
and dive into World War Z with us.
Here's our review.
Listen, we all know by now that Valve can't count to 3, and as a result, we'll never get the Left 4 Dead 3 that we truly deserve. So Saber Interactive was nice enough to step up to the plate and try to give us what we want with World War Z, the video game. While gunning down endless hordes of zombies with friends is always a good time, World War Z just can't help but feel like a cheap imitation to the game that it's so heavily inspired by. But that's not all bad, because even a cheap imitation can still be incredibly fun as long as it works. The game's concept is pretty straightforward and simple. You and 3 teammates must make it from point A to point B, all while surviving a constant onslaught of zombies. There's a class system to help keep things interesting, as well as character upgrades that are offered as you progress. But even that feels like it could have been implemented a little bit better, as the upgrades have to be done outside of gameplay. So in order to apply upgrades, you have to leave your game, do the upgrade, and then re-enter the game. It's a small thing that can become a bit tedious after a while. Visually, the game is really impressive, and this is where it shines the most. Not only does it look pleasing to the eye, but from a technical perspective, it's also really cool to see a couple hundred zombies on screen at once all working together to try and reach you. What's equally as impressive is the fact that while there's several hundred zombies on screen at once, the game still manages to run pretty smoothly and not choke up at the busier parts. Thankfully, the balance of enemies also feels pretty good. Typically, there isn't one strong zombie that you'll have to focus on while being annoyed by the surrounding weaker grunts, but instead, the challenge itself is surviving the massive wave altogether. What World War Z does right is great and works well, but the game simply falls short in polish and long-term replayability. The game suffers from technical issues with servers, struggles with overall pacing from stage to stage, and characters who barely interact with each other, with the exception of yelling out the occasional order. There are a variety of weapons, but it feels like you can get away with using any one of them and be just fine. The major saving grace of this title is that it's not a $60 game, but rather $40, and even at the point of this review, it's probably gone on sale for much cheaper. That alone makes a big difference, and lets the game be forgiven for some of its faults. So grab 3 of your friends, if you have them, load up, and move out. World War Z gets a 4 out of 5.
So there you have it. Valve wouldn't make Left 4 Dead, so someone else did. And it was good. We enjoyed it.
Be sure to check us out on patreon.com/VGX7.
You can see behind the scenes takes of our show, as well as some loos. But we're not going to tell you who. For that, you got to go find out and become a patron. As always, guys, thank you for watching Ultima Gaming, and we'll see you next time.